There you see protesters gathering at City Hall in San Francisco last night, the home of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. She's now America's highest-ranking Democrat, and when we spoke late yesterday, she began with her message for a country in crisis.
My message is, let's come together, let's be prayerful, especially on a Sunday morning, about how we can put our differences aside, because this is the greatest country in the world, and we want to live up to the legacy of America.
That doesn't seem to be what's happening right now. We've seen the cities erupting over the last several days. And Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota has said now that the protesters have gone far beyond the murder of George Floyd. They say it's about attacking civil society, instilling fear, and disrupting our great cities. Is he correct?
Well, I do think that there's a place for protest at the sign of a knee going into the neck of a person who's not offering resistance, or even if he were. Disproportionate response from the police. When you have a crowd, you will have those who will disrupt, and that is most unfortunate. As my colleague from St. Paul has told me, 80% of the people who were arrested or taken into custody following what was happening there were from out of the area. So again, let's have a look at what really is happening, who is taking what actions, but we should not ignore the fact that there is a room for peaceful protest in all this.
Do you think justice has yet been served in the George Floyd case with the arrest of the single officer, or should the other officers be arrested as well?
Well, I said right from the start that it was murder. We saw an execution of a person on TV. We saw it happen, a knee to the neck. There were others there who witnessed it, who would be considered in other circumstances accomplices to it. I have my own concern about a murder 3 charge. I haven't seen a situation where there's a scene of the crime and people haven't been taken into custody immediately. But let's hope that justice will be done as we go forward. I think there were some unfortunate statements made that were provocative in terms of the outburst of concern that we are seeing. So I do think I'm very proud of the calm work of our Congressional Black Caucus, of our Judiciary Committee, on how we go forward, really following up on initiatives they had already taken in light of the fact that there have been, this is not the first time, this is part of a pattern. And we just have to make sure that as we seek normal, that it's a new normal, as President Obama said, where we don't have all of this injustice and the violence that goes with it.
You mentioned those unfortunate statements. Are you referring to President Trump's tweets, including the one where he said, when the looting starts, the shooting starts?
No, I'm not paying too much attention to what the president says. I'm talking about the injustice, the knee in the neck. I talked about President Obama. If I said Trump, forgive me. It's President Obama saying that if we go to a normal, people say, let's go back to normal. Well, normal hasn't been so great for a lot of people. Let's make sure normal is more consistent with liberty and justice for all. I kind of ignore what President Trump says.
You ignore him, but at the same time, he's been continuing to tweet and speak out today. He's attacking the protesters, saying it's part of the far left. He's attacking the mayors of Minneapolis and the mayor of Washington, D.C. What should the President of the United States be doing right now?
The President of the United States should bring dignity to the office that he serves. He should be a unifying force in our country. We have seen that with Democratic and Republican presidents all along. They have seen their responsibility to be the President of the United States, to unify our country, and not to fuel the flame, And I think to take his bait time and time again is just a gift to him, because he always wants to divert attention from what the cause of the response was, rather than to describe it in his own terms.
What should Congress do right now? Your colleague, Hakeem Jeffries, has introduced legislation to ban chokeholds, to ban those knees in the neck by police. Will the House move to pass that now?
Well, we have a number of pieces of legislation. Mr. Jeffries is the chair of our caucus. His words have great weight. Congresswoman Barbara Lee has legislation to look at the full picture. Congresswoman Frederick Wilson has a bill establishing a commission for studying the social status of Black men and boys, and how we can help change that situation. The list goes on. There are many. There's a motion condemning police brutality. In addition to that, this is happening at a time of other injustices. The fact is that the coronavirus has taken an undue toll among people of color. This, again, is an injustice, and part of what we have in our HEROES Act and previous legislation is to say we must test, we must trace, we must treat, and we must isolate in a way that really establishes where this is taking the biggest toll. Why should there be more disproportionate deaths among people of color? Because we're not really testing in those communities to treat and save lives.
Madam Speaker, thank you for your time this morning.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, George, at this sad time.